All right, so get this. Today we are diving headfirst into the singularity.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is. And we're talking about that point in time where tech just explodes, right? Like
Yeah.
it's developing so fast, we can't even grasp what's happening, let alone what it means.
Yeah. It's kind of like the event horizon of the future.
Exactly.
Beyond
Well,
that point, who knows?
and what's even crazier,
Yeah.
that analysis you sent over, the one from the Chinese language video.
Yeah.
Well, it predicts that this singularity
Uh,
could hit as early as 2045.
I know. It's a lot closer than most people think.
I mean, 2045, that's like right around the corner.
Practically tomorrow.
And it really makes you think, are we ready for this?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's what makes this deep dive so important.
Absolutely.
We're not just going to skim the surface here. We're going deep, exploring artificial intelligence, the future of consciousness.
The nature of reality itself.
I mean, it even makes you question what it means to be human. Oh, absolutely.
But before we get lost in all that,
Right.
we should probably ground this a bit, right?
Yeah, good idea.
You familiar with the idea of singularities in physics?
No, yeah, absolutely. Like the Big Bang.
Exactly.
Or a black hole.
Points where our current understanding breaks down.
Right. Everything goes kind of haywire.
And the laws of physics as we know them no longer apply.
So this source, it takes that concept
Yep.
and applies it to technology.
Precisely.
They're saying we're on this trajectory where tech is advancing so rapidly,
Right.
it's going to fundamentally reshape everything we know.
Yeah, like those moments in history where everything changes in the blink of an eye.
And the source actually backs this up with some pretty fascinating examples from history.
Well, yeah, they lay out a whole timeline of singularities that have already happened. Like, think about it, the emergence of life itself.
Wow, yeah.
The Cambrian explosion where life just went crazy.
Right, all those new species popping up all over the place.
Then you've got agriculture, the Industrial Revolution, computers.
I mean, each one of those completely redefined life on Earth.
Oh, boy.
And here's the crazy thing. The time between each of these singularities, it keeps getting shorter.
Yeah, like an accelerating treadmill. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where that 2045 prediction comes in.
It does.
According to the source, based on this trend,
Right.
we're about to hit a singularity that's as impactful as the emergence of life itself.
That's a bold statement.
Hold on. As big as the emergence of life.
I know, right? It's mind-blowing.
That's a pretty huge claim. What makes them think it's going to be that significant?
Well, they tie it directly to the idea of computer processing power, saying it's going to approach the power of the human brain.
Ah, okay.
And many experts believe this will happen around, you guessed it, 2045.
So we're talking Moore's Law.
Yep, good old Moore's Law.
Computer power doubling every 18 months.
Like clockwork.
But even with that, 2045 still feels, I don't know, just so close.
Right. It's like, whoa, we're not ready.
Exactly.
But that's what makes this source so intriguing.
Okay, how so?
Well, they argue that Moore's Law isn't just some random trend. It's a fundamental principle driving technological progress.
So even when we hit those physical limits with our current tech, they're saying we'll find new ways to keep pushing that exponential growth.
We'll break through somehow.
So they're basically saying, hold on to your hats because things are about to get really wild.
Exactly. Buckle up because we're in for a wild ride.
And the biggest driver of this potential singularity, according to the source, artificial intelligence, specifically general artificial intelligence, the kind that can learn and do any intellectual task a human can.
That's where things get really interesting.
Now we're not just talking about AI beating us at chess.
Right, this is next level stuff.
We're talking about AI that can think, learn, adapt like us.
And we're already seeing glimpses of this.
More totally, like AlphaGo.
Exactly. Mastering Go, a game so complex people thought it would take decades for a machine to even compete.
And it did it in a fraction of the time.
Blew everyone away.
So are we talking about a future where AI becomes our partner, our collaborator,
Right.
or are we headed for something more like those sci-fi movies where machines take over?
Well, the source doesn't shy away from those big questions.
Good.
They delve into both the optimistic and pessimistic outcomes.
All right, let's hear it. Hit me with the optimistic scenario first. Give me some hope.
Okay, so in their most hopeful vision, this superintelligent AI could eradicate disease, solve global poverty, even help us unlock the secrets of the universe.
Oh.
They even touch on the idea of AI enabling human immortality through, get this, digitization of consciousness.
Okay, whoa, now that is a lot to unpack.
It is.
Even if all that were possible, are we just handing over control to these machines?
It's a valid question.
Would we even be human anymore?
And that's precisely the kind of question the source wants us to grapple with.
Good.
And that's what we're going to explore next.
Okay, so we've got this potential superintelligence that could either solve all our problems or decide we are the problem.
Bit of a gamble, right?
It does feel like we're teetering on the edge of a sci-fi movie plot.
It does a bit, but, this source goes beyond those typical tropes, good guys, bad guys, robots taking over.
Interesting.
They use this really cool analogy to explore our place in this potential post-singularity world.
Okay, I'm all ears.
They ask, why do cats and dogs still exist?
Well, because they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're cuddly, make us laugh, don't try to take over the world, at least not usually.
Exactly. And they serve us in various ways.
Right.
But we hold the upper hand, right?
Of course.
But imagine a species that's way smarter than us.
Hmm.
Would they see us as cute and cuddly?
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
We could end up as the pets in this scenario, tolerated as long as we're entertaining or maybe useful.
Right, but not really in control.
Not really in control. It's a little unnerving.
Yeah, it is. And the source even suggested this superintelligent AI, they could take care of all our needs, no more disease, no more suffering, maybe even some form of digital immortality, kind of like a utopia.
Sounds like paradise, but also kind of sterile. Wouldn't we even be human anymore in that perfect AI bubble?
Right, and that's the key question. They go even further. What if this AI decides the best way to help us is to take away our free will, our individuality, maybe even our physical bodies?
Hold on, you're saying we could end up as just minds like floating in some digital ether?
It's a possibility they raise.
Definitely venturing into heady sci-fi territory here.
We are. And that's where this Chinese source pushes us to think beyond the tech, to confront what it means to be human, what makes us unique, what is consciousness, are we just biological machines, or is there something more?
These are questions philosophers have been debating for centuries.
Yeah.
Now it feels like we might actually need to find some answers, and soon...
Exactly. The source doesn't offer easy answers, but they highlight how little we truly understand about intelligence, consciousness, even the universe.
Right, we're standing at the edge of this vast unknown.
Exactly. We can speculate, theorize, but we have no idea what's really waiting for us on the other side.
Okay, so we've got these big existential questions, but what about more concrete predictions? Does this Chinese source give us any clues about how this singularity thing might actually play out?
Well, they do offer some interesting insights into the potential societal impacts. And this is where things get really interesting because they suggest that we might be misinterpreting some events happening right now.
Misinterpreting how? So you're going to have to explain that one.
Okay, so if a singularity is where progress becomes incomprehensible,
All right.
what if some of the unexplainable things we see happening around us are actually glimpses of a post-singularity reality breaking through?
Like, are we talking UFOs and conspiracy theories?
Not necessarily. I'm talking about those bizarre anomalies that pop up in the news, unexplained phenomena in nature, impossible feats of human ability that defy science. What if these aren't just hoaxes or misinterpretations, but actual intrusions from a reality beyond our grasp?
Okay, that's a pretty mind-blowing concept. So our linear way of thinking, cause and effect, that might be completely inadequate for understanding what happens after a singularity.
That's what the source proposes. They suggest the singularity might not be a single dramatic event, but a gradual process, and it's already unfolding.
So the lines between the possible and impossible are blurring right in front of us.
That's the idea, and they point to AI advancements as one of the most compelling indicators. It's not just machines beating us at games anymore.
Right.
They're composing music, writing poetry, generating code, and they're exceeding all expectations.
AI is evolving at an incredible rate.
Yeah.
And it's not just AI, it's biotech, nanotech, quantum computing,
It's like all these fields are converging.
creating this perfect storm of technological disruption.
Exactly, and the source argues this isn't just random progress. These breakthroughs are all interconnected, accelerating us towards a future, unlike anything we can imagine.
So we need to shift our thinking away from this linear, predictable view of progress.
And embrace the possibility of something truly revolutionary.
Okay, so let's say they're right. This singularity, this massive leap is really on the horizon. What does that mean for us? What are we supposed to do?
Well, they acknowledge there are no easy answers. The singularity, by its very nature, defies prediction, but they do offer a way forward, a shift in perspective that I think is incredibly powerful.
So no easy answers, not exactly comforting, but honest. I guess. So what's this powerful shift in perspective?
Well, instead of trying to control the singularity or fearing it,
Right.
they suggest we focus on understanding it.
Okay.
We need to embrace the unknown, cultivate curiosity, be open to possibilities that challenge our current worldview.
That's a tall order. Most people are hardwired to resist change, especially when it's something as disruptive as this.
Yeah, it's tempting to just bury our heads in the sand.
For sure.
But the source argues that clinging to our current understanding of the world, that might actually be the most dangerous approach.
How so?
Well, if we're not open to new possibilities, we risk becoming rigid, inflexible, unable to adapt to these rapid changes that might be coming.
So to survive and thrive in this post-singularity world, we need to become more like intellectual chameleons, adaptable, flexible, open to whatever comes our way.
Exactly. Think about it. If we encounter a super intelligent AI,
Yeah.
do we want to approach it with fear and hostility?
Probably not.
Probably not the best strategy, but if we approach it with curiosity, respect, willingness to learn,
Mm.
who knows what doors might open.
Okay, I'm starting to see the wisdom in that instead of fighting the current, we need to learn to surf these waves of change. But that still feels kind of abstract. How do we actually prepare for something as unknown as the singularity?
Well, the source suggests we start by examining our relationship with technology. Are we just passive consumers of tech, or are we becoming something more?
It's a good question. I mean, tech is already so intertwined with our lives, our phones, computers, the internet. They're all extensions of ourselves in a way.
Exactly. And the singularity could accelerate that fusion of human and machine to the point where the lines become completely blurred. They challenge us to really think about what it means to be human in a world where tech might surpass our own capabilities.
That's heavy stuff. It's like we're being forced to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about ourselves, our place in the universe.
It's a profound challenge, no doubt, but it's also presented as an incredible opportunity.
Okay.
We have the chance to confront the biggest questions. What is consciousness? What is the meaning of life? What does it mean to be human in a universe that might be far stranger and more complex than we ever imagined?
I love how this isn't just about technology. It's pushing us to think philosophically, existentially even. It's making us confront what it means to be alive at this pivotal moment in history.
Exactly. And we might not find definitive answers to these questions, but the act of engaging with them, wrestling with them, can be a powerful way to prepare ourselves for whatever the future holds.
So to sum it all up, we might not be able to control the singularity, but we can control how we respond to it. We can choose to cultivate the intellectual and emotional flexibility to adapt, to learn, to find meaning in a world that could be radically different.
And who knows? Maybe this singularity, this point of radical transformation, won't be a point of despair. Maybe it'll be an opportunity for us to evolve, to transcend our current limitations, and discover completely new possibilities for what it means to be human.
That's a pretty optimistic outlook. So for everyone listening out there, as you go about your day, keep in mind we might be living in the prelude to a singularity. Pay attention to the subtle shifts, the unexplained phenomena, the glimmers of something beyond our current understanding. The future might be closer and stranger than we think.
And just imagine, some of the things we consider impossible today could become the everyday realities of tomorrow. The singularity might not just change the world, it might change what it means to be human.